Well, this is Retirement Garage. A solemn day today, the 5th anniversary of my daughter's passing when she was 34. I did cover up the names to protect the innocent. And I'll tell you a little story, and we're going to be upbeat about this, but that was my father-in-law and mother-in-law. And as you can see, the mother-in-law passed September 17, 2020. And my father-in-law just passed on the 23rd of December in 2023. So 2020, 2023. We use the artificial flowers because if you put real flowers out here, they'll be eaten in a matter of hours. I was going to show you this other one. This was someone who likes the Golden Girls. So they put this wreath out here. I always thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, this is where if you're cremated, you can buy one of these boulders. And like I said, I'll tell you a story about that. So you could put as many remains on a boulder because you own the boulder. And there's my daughter. And you can see, born on September 9th, 1985 and passed away August 3rd, 2020. So, 5-year anniversary. Butterflies were her favorite. That's a butterfly. Probably can't see it, but that's a butterfly she's got there on her finger. That was one of the last pictures. She was out in Las Vegas. And I was going to show you. I just grabbed a couple pictures. This is where my daughter and her, obviously the one with the long legs in the blue is Ashley. And that's Brittany in the little one, and that's her in 2003 with my dog Reese. So both have passed away. So again, I want to make this upbeat. Let me get in here. And as the planes go by, of course. So I want to tell you a story. And so, first of all, if you would like to somehow, and I wanted to do this, but if you want to somehow, I don't know how you want to say it, be at one with me, tonight I'll be looking at the stars with my telescope, and I'll also be playing Grace Potter and the Nocturnals, a song that they have out called Stars. So if you get a chance, it'd be around 8 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock, somewhere in there. Put that on for me. Grace Potter and the Nocturnals, Stars. I would put it on here, but copyright violations and all that, so I didn't want to take a chance. But let me tell you a story. This is something you really didn't know about me and about what happened with us. And I won't get into too much here, but that was, Ashley passed away from ovarian cancer in Las Vegas, basically during COVID. And it was tough because if you saw my mother-in-law, she passed away a little over a month later. So it was, and at the same time, as you guys all remember, 2020, that March, April, May, June, July time frame was crazy because that's when the height of COVID, nobody knew anything. So we had all this going on. We had her in Vegas fighting this cancer. We had mother-in-law that we were going over to see every day. She was in really bad shape, but she was at home. Just like her husband, she wanted to die at home. And these are things that, when people talk about long-term care insurance, and, I read a stat that only 25 of 100 people actually stay in a nursing home for a long time. Now, you may find other data, but there's a 75% chance that you're not going to be in a nursing home for a long time. You're either going to pass away from natural causes in your sleep, or you're going to get hospice at home or something, just like my mother-in-law did. Now, that's not saying you shouldn't get long-term insurance, but for those of us that can't afford it or don't want to, Again, yeah, it's 25% that you could be in a nursing home and you could have issues, but 75% says that you won't. And I think only one person in our family who got dementia was in a nursing home. Everybody else passed away at home, including my father-in-law. So, it all depends on the situation. But let me tell you a story. Um, we've had State Farm insurance. If you're a subscriber and a follower of mine, you know I get a lot of flack on my Social Security video, my expenses versus income. I get a lot of flack because I have the universal life insurance. Well, let me tell you what happened. I did have my daughter covered, Ashley. I had her covered for a $15,000 policy. And people say, well, your car insurance is low. That's great. Your house insurance is low. So my car insurance is $51 a month. My house insurance is about $842 a year. And so, yeah, I'm getting good rates because I have all these policies with State Farm. Now, other insurance companies, I'm sure, could rate as well in my eyes as State Farm is. But in my opinion, State Farm has really come through for me. So I'll just speak to my experience, and I know everybody's experience is different. But back, I had what was called a Ford Explorer, and it's aptly named the Ford Exploder because I did have a Ford that actually caught fire. It was the only car I've ever had that caught fire, and it was a total loss. I had a check in my hand in 5 days. Of course, they totaled it, but State Farm paid me in 5 days. So I had that issue, and it was resolved very quickly. Then, and I don't know, I mean, you can look at things as chance, happenstance, divine intervention. You can look at things in different ways. When things happen, everybody has their own way of looking at things. Luck, however you want to describe it. But sometime before Ashley passed away, I had a $15,000 policy on her. And about a month, I think it was 2 months before, we got a letter just on her policy. Not mine, not my wife's, not my other daughter. And it basically said, we're offering you an extra $10,000, no strings attached, just sign here and send it back for life insurance. Remember, she was in the middle of I guess, what turns out to be end stages of ovarian cancer. And out of the blue, this letter gets sent to us. And like I said, a month or 2 months later, she passes. So the initial $15,000, they added an additional $10,000 to that. So we got $25,000. Luck, happenstance, divine intervention, pick one. But very unusual. Never had this offer ever before, never have seen anything like it again. And so what we did was we ended up buying this boulder here in the cemetery. Her remains were cremated in Las Vegas, and her boyfriend, who was living with her for 5 years, brought her ashes over on the plane, and then we had a service here. So we bought the boulder, and now our stuff is covered. Me and Mrs. Buzz, we're covered now for our funeral expenses, except for cremation. We went with cremation, and again, you can talk about cremation. And many countries only cremate because of space limitations, believe it or not. And a lot of people, cremate and they don't bury the ashes. I had someone once say to me, Why would you, honest to God, someone said to me, why would you have a burial plot? Why would you have an urn? Nobody will come to see you. And not meaning me, but just people in general. And the person's not wrong when it comes to, um, people, because family passes away, and I actually have adopted Leroy over here. There's a grave with the headstone that they have February spelled wrong, and this first name is Leroy, so I adopt a grave, and occasionally we'll put, like in October, we'll put pumpkins on, and we'll put a wreath for Christmas, so just because, adopt a grave. And he was a veteran, so we do that. And he gets a flag, of course. So I put flags for all the veterans here. But the 25,000 insured us that we would have this taken care of. And so when people say you should shop insurance, you should cancel this policy, you should do this, you should do that, there's nothing wrong with the advice you're giving me, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the people that, if you would have invested money that you spent on universal life insurance policies, if you would have just put that in the bank. Now, of course, I'm 25 years old. Am I really going to put all this money in the bank growing up with 2 children, young children? I don't think so. So, when I look at State Farm, I think there's just something that says, I need to stay with them. If you throw that $10,000 in there, that makes a big difference. And how that happened, why that happened, and even when I went to collect the check, the lady in the office, she said, I really didn't think the corporate was going to pay that $10,000, and they did. And I had nothing to say to her. I just, hey, you made the offer, we took the offer. I didn't want to have to cash that out. I would have rather had my daughter, right? But so be it. But for that reason, I will stay with State Farm. And it could be another insurance company, maybe other insurance companies do that. But for me, that's how we're going to handle that going forward. So if you watch this video and then you see some of my exploits on my Social Security board at the end of the month, you're going to know why. You're going to know that if you watch this video, you're going to know that little secret that I have. Not secret, but something I don't divulge ever on videos. So by watching this video, you'll know. So anyway, this is, I think I did show you. This was my daughter, and I already showed you this, but my daughter there in the blue pants, and Brittany, her sister. And then again, this picture in 2003. I just grabbed a couple. I have hundreds, right? We all do. We have hundreds of pictures of kids and stuff. So I just grabbed a couple, and yeah. So this is the setup we have here. And the next one that goes will probably be here, and then the next one will be over here. Hopefully I'm pointing this camera right. So the urn's paid for, and we could actually put our information on there now if we wanted to. But probably do that at the time of death. I know some people do have that going. Let me show you Leroy, if you got a minute. just for the heck of it, we'll go over and see Leroy. I got my Factory of Sadness shirt on too. I thought it was apropos for today. Yeah, just sadness all over. Here, I'm gonna flip this around for you. Oh, I take that back, he's not a veteran. But you see how they spelled February, if you could see that. Leroy E. Williams, 1900 to 1953, short life. And February spelled wrong. Let me get out of there we go. Put some light on it. And then this area here, behind these trees, way down yonder, as Steve would say, is Rocky River. It's way down there. You can see it in the wintertime. In the wintertime, you can see all the way down to the river. So I'd rather be up here than that down by the river, because of, I think it's going to flood eventually, right? So I don't want to be down in there. Well, if you stuck with me this long, I appreciate it. And 5 years, my daughter, 5 years. The fortunate thing is, you know, people say that time heals. That's a total outright lie. It doesn't. All it does, and thankfully so, is it dulls the pain. And finally, I think we're getting to a point where, you know, we can get into her bedroom. We haven't touched anything in her bedroom for 5 years. So I think we're at the point now where we can start to go into that. Now we got this 5-year anniversary, and I think the pain is getting dull, more dull and dull every day. So anyway, as the choppers go by, and we'll call it a day. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And we'll talk to you again. See you.